The bamboo creaked in the mountain monastery as two legends faced each other across the weathered stone courtyard. I witnessed something that night that still haunts my dreams and fills my heart with wonder. The underground martial arts community had whispered about this encounter for months. Pei Mei, the legendary White Eyebrow master whose reputation had survived centuries through whispered tales and bloodied gojos, stood motionless as a statue. Across from him, Steven Seagal, the enigmatic Aikido master whose Hollywood fame masked decades of legitimate martial arts mastery, rolled his shoulders with predatory calm. This wasn't some choreographed movie sequence. This was raw, unfiltered combat between two masters who had spent lifetimes perfecting their deadly arts. The air itself seemed charged with lethal potential.
Pei Mei's white eyebrows caught the moonlight as he surveyed his opponent with eyes that had seen empires rise and fall. His legendary Bak Mei style had crushed the Shaolin Temple's greatest warriors centuries ago. The five-point palm exploding heart technique wasn't folklore in his hands, it was surgical precision wrapped in ancient wisdom. His conditioning defied human comprehension, fingers that could punch through solid wood, internal energy that could stop a man's heart with a gentle touch. But those same ancient techniques that made him invincible might also be his weakness. Pei Mei fought with traditions carved in stone, patterns perfected over generations. Could centuries-old techniques adapt to a modern fighter's unpredictability?
Seagal moved like liquid mercury, his massive frame deceptively graceful. 40 years of Aikido mastery had taught him to redirect violence rather than meet it head-on. His hands were weapons, registration required in multiple states, capable of breaking bones with seemingly effortless circular motions. Where Pei Mei represented ancient fury, Seagal embodied controlled devastation. The big man's psychological warfare was legendary. He'd broken opponents mentally before the first blow landed, using their own aggression against them like a martial arts chess master. His conditioning came from decades of real-world applications, not monastery meditation. Yet, Seagal's reliance on opponents attacking first could prove fatal against someone who might simply explode into motion without warning. Pei Mei wasn't some angry street fighter to be redirected. He was calculation incarnate.
The first exchange happened so fast I nearly missed it. Pei Mei's hand snapped out like a striking cobra, targeting Seagal's solar plexus. The Aikido master's response was pure instinct, catching the ancient warrior's wrist and attempting a classic Irimini Nage throw. But Pei Mei's centuries of experience read the technique before Seagal committed to it. The old master twisted impossibly, his body defying physics as he escaped the grip and landed a glancing blow to Seagal's ribs. The sound was like bamboo snapping. Seagal absorbed the strike, his face showing no emotion, but I could see him recalculating. This wasn't going to be about redirecting wild attacks. This required a different approach entirely. The second exchange began when Seagal feinted left and exploded right, his massive frame moving with startling speed. His hands sought Pei Mei's elbow joint with surgical precision. But the ancient master seemed to anticipate the attack, flowing backward like water, while his fingers traced deadly patterns in the air. What happened next defied everything I thought I knew about martial arts. Pei Mei's internal energy erupted outward in a visible wave that staggered Seagal backward 3 full steps. The big man's eyes widened, not with fear, but with recognition. He was facing something beyond normal human capability.
But Steven Seagal hadn't survived 4 decades in martial arts by being normal. As Pei Mei pressed his advantage with a lightning-fast combination targeting pressure points, Seagal did something unexpected. Instead of trying to block or redirect, he stepped into the attack, accepting a painful strike to his shoulder while getting inside Pei Mei's guard. The monastery courtyard exploded into violent motion. Seagal's massive hands found purchase on Pei Mei's silk robes, his Aikido training taking over as he attempted to use the ancient warrior's own momentum against him. But Pei Mei's body seemed to vibrate at a frequency that made grappling impossible. The turning point came when Seagal abandoned traditional Aikido entirely. Instead of trying to redirect or throw his opponent, he simply grabbed Pei Mei's wrist and held on with brute strength while driving his knee upward. It was crude, ungraceful, and completely effective. Pei Mei's eyes flashed with something that might have been surprise. For the first time in centuries, someone had abandoned martial arts philosophy and simply applied physics. The knee connected with his floating ribs, and even the legendary master's conditioning couldn't completely absorb the impact.
But rather than retreat, Pei Mei smiled. The ancient warrior's free hand traced a complex pattern in the air, and suddenly Seagal's grip began to weaken. The five-point palm technique wasn't just about stopping hearts. It could disrupt any bodily function with the right pressure point combination. Seagal released his grip and staggered backward, his left arm suddenly numb from elbow to fingertip. But instead of panic, his face showed grim determination. He switched to a southpaw stance and continued his advance. What followed was 7 minutes of the most beautiful violence I've ever witnessed. Pei Mei's ancient techniques flowed like deadly poetry, while Seagal's modern adaptability countered with brutal efficiency. Every exchange could have ended the fight. Every movement carried the weight of decades of mastery. The end came suddenly and with shocking finality. Pei Mei committed to his legendary dim mock strike, the death touch that had ended countless warriors throughout history. His fingers extended like sword points, targeting the precise spot on Seagal's chest that would stop his heart.
But Steven Seagal had spent 40 years learning to read intention in his opponent's bodies. As Pei Mei's hand shot forward with lethal precision, Seagal stepped aside at the last possible moment and caught the ancient warrior's extended wrist. His other hand found Pei Mei's elbow, and with a twist that combined Aikido philosophy with street fighting practicality, he snapped the joint with an audible crack. Pei Mei dropped to one knee, his legendary fighting arm hanging useless at his side. For the first time in centuries, the White Eyebrow master had been decisively defeated. Steven Seagal won because he adapted when adaptation was required. Where Pei Mei represented the perfection of traditional martial arts, Seagal embodied martial arts evolution. His willingness to abandon textbook technique for whatever worked in the moment proved the difference between legend and reality. Both men were masters, but only one understood that true mastery means never being enslaved by tradition. In that moonlit courtyard, I watched the past meet the present, and the present emerged victorious through brutal, beautiful pragmatism.